during an appearance on C-SPAN, Washington's Journal, there was a Kansas man who identified himself only really as Gordon. Well, he complained about author Heather McGhee's new book, The Sum of Us, When Racism Costs Everyone and how we can prosper together. So listen to this caller, what he asked of Heather.
Gordon, Kansas City Republican, you're up first. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Hi, Heather. I'm so the opposite of you, and I wonder if you get up in the morning and you have to fight that white blood off because it's trying to make you a racist. You have to fight that white blood off, and all this stuff that you're talking about was addressed in the 60s. Low-income housing was built. You guys got child care, anything. You've always got your hand out. And I just think it's pitiful that you think you write a book and you know everything about every white person alive.
Now, when I get up in the morning, I definitely do not wipe the white blood off. Yeah, Jackson.
Yeah, my big thing about this is that, this guy calls in and, the whole thing about white blood and you got your hands out and, just generally, obviously not understanding the plight of social welfare that helps people like him as well. It's not just about Black people. It's not just about minorities. We know that white people overwhelmingly use, welfare programs more than anybody else. But I just, having to deal with stuff like that, I think that more than anything, for me at least, it shows that the Republican voting base is not going to change and that all they really have in their arsenal is to continue to go with the same race baiting tactics that keep people like this going against, policies that actually impact people like him in communities like West Virginia that I live right next to, dying coal states where these types of programs and Build Back Better actually help these individuals. So it's just funny to hear people say stuff like that because it's like you're really just talking about yourself and your own community. So.
Yeah, and no, people don't get it. They like to do this us-them dialogue, this thought of, it was addressed in the 60s. The Civil Rights Act was passed. Things were magically fixed. You had integration. You have all the opportunities. Nothing's changed or everything's changed, other than you're complaining. It shows you how much people are invested in these narratives that really do not in any way help advance us or actually really recognize what is going on and how a lot of these laws and these things that are passed, they're just farces. There's nothing really to them. There's no substantive impact. But I wouldn't have responded to that question as well. But the author Heather McGhee, she actually handled it pretty well.
She did.
Check out her response.
I want to ask, who is selling that story? Who's profiting from your average white American holding such negative views about their fellow American? I am not at all saying, and I don't say in The Sum of Us, that all white people are the same. But I do ask that question of everything we believe comes from a story we've been told. So I want to know who's selling a story that white people are the contributors to society and Black people are the takers of society. Who's selling ignorance about the great accomplishments of the Black community and how many obstacles had to be overcome? Who's selling stereotypes in cable news day in and day out? And how are they profiting from it? That's the question I ask in the book. I hope against hope that you might grab a copy from your local library and read it, or read just a chapter or two of it and see if the interpretation that you have of what the message is stands up. Because I did write the book not just for people like me, not just for Black and brown folks, but for all of us to stop sort of criticizing each other and look more at the people who are profiting from a rigged economy.
You know what? God bless her. That was such a smooth, professional, respectable response that I know I wouldn't have had in me. But I know that she is the author, and Heather McGhee's specialty is really in the American economy and the mystery of why it so often fails the American public. And so this is a book that talks about the collapsing public infrastructure, racism, politics, policymaking, how it has impacted us. And as you can see the cover here, the sum of us. It definitely seems like it's worthwhile to go ahead and get your hands on to check out because, hey, we need change and we have to understand the system and also how money in the economy, capitalism, truly has that impact on us. And it seemed that Heather McGhee really, she had that down. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
I think her response was brilliant. And I think that not only did she sell the book, but she actually really briefly and quickly painted the picture of what America is, who actually built this country, who kicked their feet up while it was being built. And, how recent a lot of the stuff that, he mentioned really is. My father's 70 years old. And when he was a kid, schools weren't segregated in many places. So, a lot of this stuff is in fact still new. It's still going on, and we haven't gotten out of these issues. We're still living them today. So I think her response was brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. And I do hope to get a copy of that book.